Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of SIDcast. I'm your host, David Gibson, and with me on a very special episode of SIDcast, Mark Majewski of Boston College. Mark, you just got off the ice. How was your little makeshift hockey game?
I put 4 in, but I was a -2 on the day, so kind of a selfish player when it comes to 3-on-3. Not really concerned about what everyone else is doing, but -2 with 4 goals and a couple assists, we'll take it. So just get a little sweat and get some cardio going, and here we go. So good stuff.
All right, first some housekeeping stuff. Thank you all for downloading and subscribing. We're actually to the point, I don't know if you guys have noticed on iTunes, I don't know how many of you go to my iTunes page, but we're to the point where it says listeners also subscribe to, and then it gives you suggestions of different things. I mean, that's like, for me, that's kind of a milestone, and I'm really, really proud of it. I'm really, really happy that you all listen, that you all find this very enjoyable. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, using /SportsInfoCast because SIDcast is already taken. Also on Instagram and now on YouTube, as Mark is the cornerstone episode for that. So,
Oh man.
Mark, how did you get into sports information? How did you get to your role at Boston College? Spare no detail.
Yeah, I don't know how long your the Sid podcast goes for, but kind of a topsy-turvy way of getting there. But to be honest with you, I got kind of a late start. We were talking before just about my Michigan dumb and how much I love that. I went to school there and kind of got a late start in terms of anything in the way of experience. And the sport industry, especially in the collegiate ranks, was much different then, and it will reveal my age. I graduated in '05, which all of you, I hope none of you are good at math. It shows you how old I am, but things were a lot different back then. I did my first experiences were kind of in the marketing realm, and I was passing out phone cards. That was actually a thing when I went to school. In the parking lot during games, having people use free sprint for 10 minutes, and stuff like that. And I was like, this just isn't for me. And I was kind of struggling a bit to figure out what it is I wanted to get my hands around. And I was fortunate enough once I went to grad school at Wayne State, which is in Detroit. They had a part of their program, sport administration program, was doing a long internship, and I was fortunate to get involved with the USA Hockey National Team Development Program. Oddly enough, it seems like it was 100 years ago, and that was actually also to work with the director of marketing. But as fate would have it, his label was kind of not right. He was essentially the media relations guy for the program. He had some marketing duties, but basically he was traveling with the team, doing all the PR responsibilities that we all know today. And I was like, this stuff is actually pretty cool. The work, if you will, I felt was a lot more fulfilling, and it was awesome. I loved the responsibilities I have. I remember one of the first design things I did in PowerPoint, for God's sakes, and was putting up these ridiculous looking flyers within a tiny little barn in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it was awesome. And from there I've been to I've had a bunch of stops. I was with the Illinois Junior Golf Association, which again seems like years ago, but it was awesome. St. Francis of Pennsylvania, shout out to Loretto, PA, and the Red Flash, which is a Division I program. It's in the Northeast Conference. Some may not have heard of it, but I actually honed a lot of my skills and matured there a lot. And from there, I took a year internship at Syracuse, which was great. Learned from some of the best of Sue Edson, P. Moore, and that whole crew, and thankful for my relationships I have there. And my first full-time opportunity was here in Boston, but it was at Northeastern University just down the street. I worked there for 4 years, from '09 to 2013, and an opportunity here came at Boston College, and I've been here ever since. And it's been crazy. I've kind of worked at all different levels, and I'm grateful for all of them. And it's been pretty cool so far, David. So yeah, it's where we're at.
I kind of lost you there for a second. That's why I'm pulling out my hardline connection.
All good.
You are the graphic design. You are the graphic design guy for Boston College. Obviously, that's why you're here today.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
You said you got pulled out doing some SID work and then more into the um, graphics work.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get pulled out of that, and then you're kind of back into it with some ice hockey? So
Yeah.
what's been that like?
Yeah, I'm kind of a hybrid, if you will, which has been enjoyable. It's been a lot of work for sure. Um, some people look at, oh, you just do one sport. That's nice. I'm like, well, I do technically have responsibilities for one sport, but it's a long season with hockey, as my fellow hockey SIDs and will attest to. But we have to deal here with ACC football and basketball and things of that nature. And college hockey is kind of an interesting sport because you have schools that range from everywhere. There, some institutions you maybe never even heard of, all the way to to Boston College, Notre Dame, Michigan, Minnesota, things like that. So you run the gamut of institutions. But yeah, we made some new hires here and felt it was necessary that we had to have someone kind of focused more on the visual side of things. And it's just something that I've always gravitated towards. I've had an inclination for it and luckily found a knack for it. And have tried to kind of hone my skill set in that regard, and have been fortunate to to build some relationships with people that are years beyond me in terms of what they can do. And, I think obviously, as most SIDs can attest to, that's the way everything is shifting. And, I think it's important that we stay, in the lane of how people are communicating and try and keep up to speed. And that stuff changes every day. As we were talking before we started recording, my internship at Syracuse was around 08, 09, and the things I was doing then are completely different than what we're doing now. I can only imagine what's going to be happening in 10 years. God, it scares me. Who knows if I'll even be around, doing that stuff then. But yeah, it's I've been doing a lot of work with football and trying to get some work in basketball here. But football specifically, whether it's in-game stuff for social media, postseason stuff, things that you see out there that are, your run-of-the-mill stuff you see your big-time college programs doing. Big campaign with National Signing Day, which was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot to balance, but it's been enjoyable. I'm very happy that I'm still able to kind of wear a traditional PR hat, but at the same time, keep my eye on what's going on in the rest of the kind of the social media, sports, digital sports communications world, if you will. And yeah, it's been cool being able to have my feet in both sets of water there.
What are some institutions or some programs that you look at for inspiration when you come up with your signing day graphics? Very cool, by the way. Signing day is one of my favorite days, not because of people signing with school, but
Yeah.
the creative stuff people haul out.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Christmas of design, if you will. It's some of the stuff that's came out this year was freaking incredible, man. It just continues to get better and better, and the talents that people have, and the investments people are making is, I think a lot of people I'm like starting to not get worried as to how much is being invested, but I think that people are just starting to see how important it is. And what are some things that I look at? I mean, I think everyone did a really, really good job. Some things that really stood out to me this year, I think just from a wholly what standpoint, Washington's stuff was unbelievable. Washington does a great job across the board. I think that they from balancing visual communication in their normal PR sense, their normal PR communications plan, I think they do a great job. And Ben Miller, who I think works solely with football there. I've never had the chance to meet him, talk with him a little bit on social media. He does an awesome job. I think the folks at Clemson, obviously, you always have to look to them and what they do. I'm very thankful for the relationships I have with a couple of the guys there, and Jeff Callen and Jonathan Gant and people like that. They just make it look so easy. What they do, it's not. They have a vision and they execute it, and they stick to their brand and do an unbelievable job. And I don't think it's any coincidence that their rise to all the way to becoming national champs is just, oh, look, they're doing cool stuff on digital media. No, I think that has a very heavy hand in it, and I think obviously a lot of people have taken notice. Mike, it kills me to say those what's down in Ohio, but those Ohio State folks, they do a phenomenal job, and Ken Hessler and Sammy Silverman, and my boy Kenton, I talk with him a lot through Twitter, and it was really cool to see a couple stories written about him and bringing this kind of realm to the forefront. I think it was. I can see his face. It wasn't Andy. Maybe Andy Staples did do one. I can see the other guy. Guy's a Syracuse grad. His name's eluding me right now, but it'll come to me at some point. But really cool stories on that, and I think we're all really grateful that highlighting Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson and Washington, those four that were in the playoff, and how many resources they've sunk into, how they execute their recruiting efforts and everything. It just shows how important and what an impact it has. And I'm grateful for all that they've done. I mean, got to give a shout to Michigan and my guy Aaron Billis. He does a freaking unbelievable job with his jersey swaps and this and that. And obviously, Matt Lang from going from Bama to Texas, and Tony Turnquist and them. They set a high standard, and I could go on and on and on and on with everybody who does a good job. But yeah, man, it's just I sit back every year and I can't believe how much planning and execution comes out in a span of a couple hours. It's really cool, man. It's a really rewarding day, and I'm thankful to have some relationship with those people for sure.
I'll tell you my favorite. I like Cincinnati's.
Yeah,
guys like
cool.
grabbing it and ripping it.
Yeah,
and you got the
for sure. And
yeah, I enjoyed that one very much.
I'm glad that you said that, and because I wish I kind of had something. I pulled it up, but Cincinnati's was cool. And for those that might not know, if I remember, it's kind of more of a caricature thing, a little bit more vector work from what it looked like. And I talk about this with I mentioned him before, Jeff Callan, a lot. How you see a lot of cool stuff out there, but a lot of it is starting to be kind of look the same. You can only use so many color palettes and so many blending modes and this, that, and the other thing, and so many gritty textures and whatever. But something like Cincinnati is something that stands out amongst the rest. I know Kyle Stopper and Leo Ramos at University of Miami. Kyle is an unbelievable. He's really good with motion graphics, and some of the stuff that he does is awesome. Like his game day stuff is really cool. For those that haven't seen it, you should check it out. But it's kind of stuff like that where you can make stuff look cool and have great photos and great lighting and this, that, and the other thing. But I think people have to start thinking outside the box a little bit more just to grab attention. And it's obviously about getting the attention of the recruits and kind of spurring your fan bases on and getting them jacked up for the season, even though it kind of just ended. But it's stuff like that is where people have to start thinking differently, because you get lost in the shuffle, because everyone is obviously now rolling out something for National Signing Day. I mean, if you're not, you're obviously behind the times. I think that goes without saying. But there were definitely a couple other things I saw that I can't truly think of right now. But I appreciate you bringing that up, just because that was sweet. I love that a lot for sure.
All right. How much of a recruiting tool is it, having that social media presence, in your opinion?
Well, I think that that's just what those, I'm going to say that demographic, but that's a good question, because it could go in a ton of different tangents.
Yeah.
In terms of a recruiting tool, I think that's why you have to stand out amongst the rest. Because I don't know if you can see, but I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm walking to my car or whatever else, I got my face buried in my phone, and it's probably not the best thing, but I think that's how a lot of people are, and that's, I don't walk across campus as much as I should, but I'm willing to bet about 80-90% of kids walking through the quad here have their heads buried in their phones, whether whatever they might be looking at, whether they're checking out their stories on Snap or just scrolling through Instagram, Twitter. I don't have to name them all, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And having that social presence it's difficult because I keep going back to Jeff, my guy Jeff at Clemson, but he's so smart with this stuff and wise beyond his years. And one of the things that we talk about, he hones in on, is what is your return. I could spend 2-3 hours on some sort of graphic, but in the end, what is the measure on it? Is it that you got 47 retweets and 108 likes? Okay, that's cool and all, but what is that actually doing for you? What sort of, is it resonating in the marketplace? Is it having an effect on not only potential recruits, but how your fan base digests it and how your fan base shares it and buys into it? And he told me, Jeff, I should have just had Jeff come on here for God's sakes, but and I've written this before and talked about it before, but something that I think a lot of people need to understand that he said is, a lot of people point to Clemson for what they do, and they should, because they've set a high standard, but he said that we create things for the Clemson fan, and if other people out there think it's cool, then we consider that an added bonus. And sometimes, what that means, I think a lot of people sometimes trying to do too much. I think that people want to flood, your timelines with all this stuff, and I don't know, is it working? What I think you have to know, recruits and your fan base, I think they're two different things. The recruits want to know what you're offering them, how your institution and your program can benefit them, and how they can be successful in life. I think that that's important for them to know, and that can be exemplified and communicated in a number of different ways. For your fan base, though, you have to know who you're relaying the message to. I don't know if you've taken notice, but Ty Rodgers at Duke has started doing these unbelievable video recaps of their basketball games. They're unlike anything I've ever seen. They're shot extremely well. They're bold. I'm not a Duke basketball fan by any means, but I find myself watching them just because they're done so well. But what I think it does is it tells the story of Duke. It shows its tradition, and it also shows the excitement around a home game at Cameron Indoor and everything else. And not only is the fans going to rally around that, but recruits are like, holy shit, I'd love to play for Duke. Now, unfortunately, everybody can go play for Duke, and that program kind of sells itself. I wish I had better examples of, some schools that are at a more of a mid-major level that are really doing a nice job. There's a guy that I've talked with, his name's Kevin Young, who works at Austin, PA. He's definitely, he gets it. And his graphics and videos might not look like those things, and that's totally fine. But he's telling the story how I think that, not many people know about Austin, PA football. It's obviously not going to be in the playoff anytime soon. I believe it's at the FCS level, but that's okay. He's able to tell the message and tell the story through video, through consistent branding and this and that. And I think it's working. It seems like it's been resonating. And I go back and forth with him every now and again. It doesn't always have to be, the big time schools that are knocking your socks off, and it can't be, because Michigan football, a little biased, of course, sells itself. Ohio State football sells itself. Duke basketball sells itself. I'm, in an interesting role where I work solely with a college hockey program. College hockey is a very niche sport. In the Northeast, it's a big thing. You live in Indiana. I'm going to guess that you probably don't know too much about college hockey. If you do, I'm very impressed. If you don't, yeah, the shrug says it all. But like here in the Northeast, there's some people that have knowledge, but across the country, it's not a known thing. And I try and do some things that are different, that separate from other programs and look different, and hopefully it's garnered some attention, not just for Boston College, but for the sport in general. It's a great sport. Not just, I mean, hockey, but the college hockey product. It's, I think it has a lot of potential, and I try and, shed some light there. So I definitely wear a few different hats where I work with a football and basketball program that is in a very tough conference and unfortunately hasn't had the success that we'd have liked. We're getting there. Football I think we'll have a good year next year coming off a bowl win, and, basketball had a tough goal last year with, not too many wins in the conference, and they've picked up a couple here and there. We know we have our work cut out for us. But that doesn't mean that we still can't try and tell our story the way we want to and brand it. So kind of a long-winded answer to, what you're asking. I think that your message to recruits is one thing, and to your fan base and potential fans is another. But, I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but they can be. I think it just depends where you are. In some places it is, some places it isn't. It's, I wrote something for Cosida not too long ago, and not all of it probably applied to everybody. That's the thing that people have to keep in mind, is that, everyone's communication plan, everyone's social media strategies. My social media strategy for Boston College hockey is certainly not the same as it is for USC football, which is not the same as it is for Utah women's tennis, which is not the same for Montana volleyball. You get the picture. Like, everything is different. And I think what a lot of places have to keep in mind is you want to keep your at least as far as I'm concerned, you want your department as a whole to have a unified front and a unified look and a unified brand. But the stories of your individual programs aren't going to be the same. It's just impossible. That's why you see football staffs have their own designers and videographers and this, that, and the other thing. Not everyone's going to be able to have that, and everyone would love that, I'm sure, but it's just not feasible. It's not going to happen, and I think it'll take a while for people to get there. It's starting to happen. You see, you see the tweet out there a couple days ago that Texas, invested $200,000 in 3 positions or whatever it was for for creative down there, and that's awesome. That's a start, and that's great. And I'm not saying that creatives and whomever else should take over SID roles. I'm not saying that at all. There's definitely a time and a place for both of those things. I think that each can learn a significant amount from the other, and I think it'll take a little time for it to get there. But I think that it's important that those two work together, your whole external side, if you will. But I'll stop talking because I've been rambling for probably about 11 minutes straight here, and I don't even know if I answered your question. So.
No, you're fine. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I enjoy things like that. We'll get around to some of those branding questions. I think I have 2 of them before we get into some fun questions.
All right.
Just showing what you're going to teach the rest of us how to do. You want to go ahead and go through what you got up on your screen? I can't see it. Go ahead and get rid of me if you can, and just worry about doing what you do.
Let's get rid of you. All right. So we were talking about, you just wanted me to talk about kind of some of my motion stuff and GIFs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
GIFs, GIFs, whatever you folks want to call it. I'm a GIF guy. So
yeah, I know somebody who calls them GIFs.
Yeah,
so.
that's not going to fly here. So, there's a couple of different ways, and I'll just pull up After Effects here. I'm gonna have to shrink it down a bit to get this in the slide. But there's a few different ways. Photoshop, you can do these sorts of things in Photoshop. So I actually made myself learn After Effects. I follow Adam Martin, who's the guy who does the Makers of Sport podcast and does a phenomenal job. And he tweeted something out, I forget how long ago it was, about something to the effect of, just because you turn on and off layers doesn't make you a GIF maker or a motionographer or something of that nature. I was like, damn, he's coming right at me. I don't know if he was actually coming right at me, but I was like, that's describing exactly what I've been doing, and that's all I really knew how to do. But going through the actual step-by-step process of how to do these things is difficult. I'm going to do something very, very simple. and do my best to kind of show just the inner workings. Now, I don't know how many of you work in After Effects, have opened it, have even downloaded it through your Adobe Suite or whatever else. But that's okay. It's for the first time you open it, it can be a little daunting. Um, and I've probably unlocked 0.00004% of its potential. It's the most absurdly amazing program ever. I love it. I try and pick up something new every time I open it. But by no means, and I mean no means, am I an expert in this. Especially given off what I'm gonna just do my best here to show, just because there's a lot of things. What I want to do is I'll just show you the interface real quick. And I'll show you something quick I did today and how it all kind of comes together. But real quick, we'll just go over the interface here. I hope that this shows up. You said you can't see it at all? You're trusting my word here?
I'm trusting you.
So we're probably going to have to do this again at 8 o'clock? All right. All right. So, this is kind of the interface here. I'm sure you've been looking at it if you're watching this on YouTube. To start anything new, the easiest way is just to kind of come up here to the composition tab and open a new composition. And that's going to prompt open this thing here. This prompt here is essentially kind of your same thing you'd see in Photoshop when you're starting up a new document. When you are opening, like when you see a GIF on your on Twitter on your phone and it spans across just perfectly, without having to touch it, open it, turn it sideways, and all that good stuff. Those parameters are 1920 by 1080. Some of you probably know that, some of you might not. There's a lot of different things here with frame rate and this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to get into that right now. The other thing that's kind of simple to show you is the duration. This sets your composition at how long you want it to be. For the sake of this, we're just going to make this 3 seconds here. We're going to keep the background color black. I'm going to go, okay. So it's a little finicky with how it kind of spans in and out here. A little more touchy than Photoshop, but there's a lot of I've never really given an After Effects tutorial, so this is probably going to be horrible. So I apologize to all of you. Mainly because I find myself every day watching tutorials, so I should actually know how to do it, give a better tutorial, but sadly I don't. I'm just going to show you real quick how to import something and then and kind of tinker around with it there. So this thing here that I'm showing on the left side is where you can set up all your comps and all your goodies, whether it's a JPEG, a PSD. The beauty of After Effects is you can pull apart a PSD file, a Photoshop file, an AI file from Illustrator. It's ridiculously compatible with all those things. So I'm just going to click it. Down here is kind of like your timeline. We don't have anything going here, but that's because we haven't brought anything in and set any keyframes, which is a word I will try and explain here in a sec. So I work on a Mac here with Command I, or come up here, just go to Import File. This takes me to somewhere. All right, we'll do. So these are all my game day stuff here that I did today. Let's. I have a bunch. This is just a folder I pull a lot of stuff from here. Let's just go into this. This is our BC logo. Actually, that's the wrong one. So I Control Z that easily. We got to brand correctly here. Oh, that one doesn't work either. See, there's a lot of prompts that come up. Sometimes I still don't know what they are.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. So you can see that my black background here, the PNG I've brought in, that comes up here. I can just drag that right into my composition here. Boom, beautiful, right in the middle there. Now, when you press your space bar, that kind of spans you across your timeline here. So it goes, 10 frames, 20 frames, 1 second, 10 frames. So I did about a 30-second frame rate, so about 30 frames per second. So space, boop, boop, boop. Absolutely nothing's happening because we didn't have it do it. We didn't have it do anything. So this twirl down here, it's going to give you a few options. It's going to give you a transform option, and even beneath that, there's even some more stuff. Whoa, look at all that. What does all that mean? All right. So I'll just try and do this as quickly as possible without you guys tuning out, but try and explain a bit here. Your anchor point is essentially kind of where it rests, if you will, and it centers around this guy right here, and it controls both axes, both your x-axis, as you can see here. You can just scrub across like that. You can enter something. You can see kind of how that works. All right, your position is literally just, it actually goes with it. You know, again, both axes, there is 3D capability, but for sake of this, I'm not going to get into that just yet. Scale, you know, you can do things like this, but I'd advise you not to, as you can see how ridiculously finicky it is. Like, you can hold shift like you do or whatever in Photoshop and it'll keep a proportion, but I would always advise you to go by the percentages here. It'll invert it for you. Ooh, blah blah blah, cool stuff like that. So your scale is an important thing. I'd advise you to go by the numbers here. You can rotate this bad boy, and then the opacity kind of speaks for itself there. All right, so let's see what we're gonna do here. Let's animate this logo from up here, just into the middle of our screen here. So where to go? Press my spacebar. I want it to come back. All right, how do we do that? So there's a few different ways we can do it. I'm going to try and do this as easily as possible. These things down here are called keyframes, and keyframes are what controls kind of your motion through the project. That's probably an inaccurate description, but that's what I'm going to go with here. It's kind of what After Effects reads off of. It's almost like you telling After Effects what it to do at that point, and then what to do next, and what to do next, and all that good stuff. So we want it to come from here and just animate on to here. All right. So whenever you have something, you always want to, from the position it's in, you want to start it with a keyframe there. All right. So your After Effects is, so if we didn't do that, you know, I Control Z, I undid it a little bit. If we didn't do that, it would just kind of probably come back, you know, it would come back up here. We didn't set any keyframes, so After Effects has thought your logo would be here. But since we moved it here, we want to keep it there. And we're going to tell it to do that by hitting this little stopwatch here. That sets a keyframe, as you can see here. This little diamond guy right there, that thing, okay? Now, I want to move it back. If I press space or nothing happens, okay? Well, that's because we need to tell it what to do next. So by doing that, we have to go further in the timeline as to what we want it to do and where to go. So let's say we want the thing to come up here and the logo to come in, animate on in 1 second. So how am I going to do that? I've moved my, see, I don't even know what the official, that's how ridiculously uneducated I am. I don't even know what this actual thing's called. It's called, it looks like a guitar pick, but your time indicator, if you will, you move it down this timeline as to where you actually want it to go. And we're going to grab the logo. Now you can do a couple of different things. You can actually grab it and pull it up there, or you can use the position and do that, because we were, you know, going with the position from there and use those values down there, whatever you want. All right, so we're kind of moving the position where we want it to be. All right, so what happens when I go back to the timeline? I press spacebar. Ooh, look at that. So what you have to do is you need to tell After Effects, it doesn't know what you want to do, obviously. You need to tell it through keyframes, okay? So let's try and do something else with this now that it's here. So now that we have the logo here where we want it, we've animated it on, let's give it a quick spin and a rotate while we got it here in the center. So we don't want it to rotate coming up, though. We want to rotate it now that it's here. So we go down to the rotation part here. It's going to click a keyframe, because now we got it where we want it. And let's say we wanted to spin for a second. We can do it as, and I'll show you here something about this in a sec. But let's say we want to spin it. You can enter 360 if you want, or you can, if you want it to spin twice, you can even go, so basically this is the degrees here, and this is the number of times. So if you hit 2 here, it's going to spin twice. So you can see as I entered the value, it automatically sets a keyframe here, right? So we have that keyframe set at 2 seconds. So let's start at the beginning here, okay? Spacebar, here it comes. Oh, look at that. And it's gonna go back on itself It's got to render out, so sometimes it takes some time. So it goes up and look at all the rotations it's doing. You can, and as it's rotating, you can see the values change, down below there. All right. So, and it stopped rotating because that's where we set the keyframe at. Now, yeah, is this an exciting GIF? This is probably the worst GIF in the history of the world, if you want to say it. But let's bring it back down. Okay. So it's kind of like a continuous motion. So now that it stops spinning, now actually one thing I want to show you is how you can move these keyframes, okay? Once you put them there, they're not permanent. You can move them, you can drag them and move them. So what happens if I move this keyframe here 20 frames back? What's going to happen? Let's see, go back. It's going to spin a lot faster just because you've shortened that distance between keyframes. But for the sake of this, let's go back to two seconds here. And let's move this bad boy back down, all right? So with this logo here already, that's where the position we wanted. I'm going to stay there. We want to keyframe that because, and then we want to go further back. Let's go 20 frames down, and we want to move it back down, all right? I want to show you something before we render this out as to why we keyframe that a time before that third time there. So let's see what this looks like. It's not exciting, of course, but all right, let's let it render out. That green bar is your kind of like your render there. I'm surprised After Effects is working this well with how much stuff I got going. So props to this at my RAM. It's not doing the best job, so I'm gonna just drag it itself here. Stays, and then comes back down. Okay. Now you can see here how it's, even though it's rotated, it stays there. What happens if I can highlight this keyframe, I can delete it. What happens when I do that? So see how it starts automatically going back down? That's because it's reading from this second keyframe to the third keyframe. You don't want it to do that. We wanted it to stay put there, okay? I don't know if that makes much sense right now, if you can follow me, but I just want to show you how kind of volatile keyframes are and how they, kind of read off each other, and how one single keyframe can affect a lot. All right, so this is the world's worst GIF. So I hope you all enjoyed it. So let's actually turn it into one. There are a bunch of different ways to do this and render it into an MP4 file. Unfortunately, at least not to my knowledge, you cannot just turn this into a GIF from After Effects. If anyone knows how to do that, that would be awesome. Hit me up. DM me at Mark Majewski, because I'd love to know that. But what I usually do is I come up to the composition here, and you can do either one of these two things: add to the render queue or add to media encoder queue. A lot of people probably do the render queue. I use the Adobe Media Encoder queue, and there's really no right way or wrong way of doing it. I believe that the media encoder keeps the file smaller, which is important when, let's see if I can get this in the window here, which is important when you are making a GIF, because Twitter can only support such a large, certain size file. So it has my file here. I click on it here. Let's just go to the desktop, comp1. We'll save it out as an MP4. Hit this green button here, and let's hope my computer doesn't explode with Skype and recording things and all that. And you're gonna watch it go boop, timeline out here. Wait for that. And now let's get out of this. Let's quit this. Yeah, we're not gonna save that one. I don't intend on using this anytime soon. But here, as you can see, it rendered out my MP4 right to the desktop. So I'm just gonna preview it real quick. How exciting! Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to drag it right into Photoshop. All right. So it prompts, a video timeline here. Let's see if I can shrink this in here. Okay. I come up to what I want to do is it's going to come in at 1920 by 1080. That's what you rendered out the size to. This is a very short clip, and you could probably use this size, but for sake of turning it into something usable for Twitter, if you work with something with a longer duration and a lot more colors and glitz and glamour and this and that, you're going to want to probably shrink the size down. So I come to image size, and I'll maybe knock it down. I got my pixels here, keep it at 72 resolution, and I'll maybe knock it down to like 850 or something, or 9. For the sake of this, we can probably keep it at 1000. All right. Hit OK. It's going to turn it into a smart object. Totally fine. Convert that. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come to export. And to make a GIF, as some of you know, as I'll go save for web, the legacy here. Okay. Give that a sec to load up.
The computer's a champ.
I'm gonna have to buy a dinner or something after this. I don't know what I'm gonna have to. It's been unreal. So let's see if I can squeeze this in here. Okay. So the save for web comes up here. I hope you can all see this. And you can preview it this way, but it takes a while. I'd advise you not to do that. And there's a whole bunch of different options you can tinker with here, which, just for the sake of this, the one thing I want to show you is when you're making a GIF, you want to change you don't have to. You can make it as many repetitions as you want, but for the sake of this, you'd probably want this to just loop forever. As ridiculous as that sounds, change that looping option to forever. You're gonna hit save. Let's go right to the desktop. Hockey game got me sick. All right, we don't need this anymore. I'm gonna close out of this. We don't need to save that. And now we have our lovely GIF. Look at it. There she goes. All right. About as ugly and boring as a GIF as it can be, but hey, I guess it's better than nothing there. So yeah, that's this was something like, just to show you, for example, what I did today, which I don't know when you're putting this out, so it might not be a sneak preview of tomorrow, but I like to do just a quick game day thing, before each game, and let's do this. Like, you can see how different elements work here and there. So this is something I'll do for the game. Bring our guy in. The thing is you can incorporate video a lot into it, which is I really enjoy doing, and different transitions and blending modes and things like that work just like doing Photoshop, as like they do in After Effects. The trick is you have to look at a comp as almost kind of like its own PSD, and you can work within those. Almost, you look at them as individual layers, and I would advise you. After Effects is a very it is very intuitive. There is a lot to learn about it. You can do GIFs solely out of Photoshop. They have, kind of a dulled down version of that timeline that I was showing you. It doesn't have quite as many options, but it it's awesome. I am by no means an expert. Like I said, I know by 0.00004% of its capabilities, but there's a ton of stuff out there. I have a Lynda subscription. I still do Lynda tutorials when I can fit them in. Obviously YouTube is a great resource for anything. So make sure that you hit those things up, because the only way you're going to learn, that right there is about as basic as it gets. But I find it really difficult to learn the bare bones of After Effects, like just by watching someone do it. Kosida has asked me a couple times to, do a tutorial on this, that. It's like, well, it's really hard to present to a group of people, because everyone's skill set is different, and some people will be like, wait, can you go back, or wait, what does that do? And some other people like, this is stupid, I already know how to do this. And the best way to do it is by just rolling your sleeves up, getting your hands dirty, and getting in there and learning on your own. And everyone's going to learn at a different speed, going to pick up different things at a different rate, and that's okay. You develop your own style and how you want things to look, and you go from there. It can be frustrating at times. I get caught up on so many stupid things that I still don't know what they are. That's just kind of part of the learning curve, and everyone, some people are faster than others, but I'd encourage all of you, for those that are interested, just kind of get after it on your own,
No.
I guess, yeah.
Hey, man, I liked it a lot. I'm excited to see it later.
All right, I hope it's okay, man. I hope it's okay.
Hey, no problem. As far as branding goes,
Mm-hmm.
and other things like that, what is one thing that really bugs you? I know we talked about it in a couple of past podcasts, and I've said it then, and I'll say it now. Chill, everybody, just calm down with the paint splatter. What's one thing that really bugs you when you see graphics that some SIDs use?
Oh man. I definitely don't want to, take a shot at anybody or anything like that. Because when you see things out there, it's what it is it's people trying new things, and sometimes they don't know how to refine those effects or those textures or those paint splatters, whatever it is, and it just doesn't look great. I think if we're talking to the SID community, you know what? I'm not gonna go and say what I don't like, because there's a lot I don't like. I could go on for a lot of things. Don't use an outer glow. How about that? The outer glow's dead.
Yeah.
Don't ever use it. All right. Instead of trying to make your stuff look the coolest and whatever, and obviously you want to have a wow factor. Did you see what so and so did? Yeah. The number one thing you need to keep in mind is make sure that your consumer is able to read it. The number one thing that drives me crazy, and I guess I will say it, is when I see something out there where it looks like a press release on a graphic, when you have 300 words on something. No one in their right freaking mind is going to be able to pick up anything on that. The difficult part is being able to learn how to emphasize certain things and make those the eye gravitate towards that. I don't think that that's something that can be it can be practiced, and it can be repeated and all that, but I do think it's kind of an innate ability. But what I think people need to just be conscious of is you have this much amount of time to capture someone's attention. If I'm going through my phone and I can't pick up what you're trying to sell me, I'm out, next, like you've lost me. And less is more in those instances. And that doesn't mean like a white box with a black texts BC2, Vermont 1, like, just a score in the words. Like, refining what you put out there is something that gets better over time. Everyone has their own style, like I said, but you have to make sure that you're trying to relay one. I think on every graphic or piece of collateral, the word graphic drives me crazy because it's overused. On anything that's put out in a digital sense, I think you want to try and relay one message and one message only, because you can do it again in another tweet or another post or whatever. You don't have to try and get 8 things across to someone in one post. Like, all right, job done for the day. I got all my stuff out. Like, no. Like, you need to spread it out and be scientific and calculated as to when you are attacking and posting things, and when your viewer or your consumer is looking at things, and when they're going to be interactive in this and that. You just have to be conscious that you're not overwhelming someone, because you're going to lose them if you put too much out there.
So I usually like to get into some fun questions towards the end.
All right.
What's been your favorite memory
Hey Dave, I think I lost you. Can you repeat that one? Sorry.
We're back.
Hey, we're good. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, beauty.
All right. At what point did you lose me? I can edit this
Just
out.
yeah, just repeat the. I didn't really hear the question.
Okay. Favorite memory from your professional tenure?
Oh my God. I feel like I've been doing this for 100 years. My favorite memory. I've got a lot of them, man. I'll give you. Let's see if anything else comes to mind. So I work with. Um, I'm fortunate enough to work with I like to call him the Coach K of college hockey, just because it's kind of relatable and not everyone knows about college hockey. The coach I work with at Boston College name is Jerry York. He has the most wins all time. He's at 1,033 right now. It's a lot of freaking wins. I hope that's right. He is. For those that are in the know of college hockey, they know he's one of the best dudes out there, and he's got his own style, and he is a unique individual. He is a Bostonian through and through. I would do an impersonation, but he'll probably listen to this, and I think I do a good impersonation of him. I don't know if he thinks so, so I'll leave it out. But we were up in Vermont, and you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. Screw it. And I forget where it was. Probably a half hour before the game. You know, we're doing whatever during warm-ups. I'm probably down below, just kind of messing around with our equipment guy or doing whatever, getting some things ready. And it's like, Mock, why don't you come out on the bench for the first period? I was like, what? And I'm like, Coach, I gotta tweet the game here. He's like, Mock, just come out there. So I'm out there on the bench with the team. One of the dads is a photographer. He was up there. He got some pictures of me. His coach comes out there shaking my hand behind the bench, and it was pretty cool, man. Like it's just a surreal thing being able to stand next to. Now, I sure as hell didn't offer any coaching advice. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it was pretty cool being able to do that. I've also been very fortunate to work with some really high-end talent at BC, Boston College Hockey Program in particular. I don't know if you've heard the name Johnny Gaudreau. I was very fortunate enough to cover his Hobie Baker campaign, which is I'll use another analogy, the Heisman, if you will, of college hockey. He plays for the Calgary Flames right now, and he's maybe 130 pounds. He's about 5'7", and you would be like, "Are you kidding me?" With this kid, how good he is, and he's an absolute joy to watch. But I've had some fun times with him, and it's pretty crazy when he'll text me 10 minutes before a game. He's like, Juice, how do I watch the game? Even though I tell him every week how to watch it, he always asks me the same question. So it's like I have an NHL player, texting me how to. His little brother is a senior on the team now, and it's amazing. Actually, it's pretty cool to see how closely he follows his little brother, and it's pretty special to be a part of. But yeah, man, I've had some good times and everywhere I've been, wherever it may be, and I got a lot of memories. But those are the two, I guess, right now that are kind of jumping out to me for sure.
What about on the other side of the coin? What's your horror story so far?
Oh God. Well,
You take time with it.
for those that know me and listen to this, they might think if like something doesn't, I have a bit of a temper, if you will. I kind of fly off the handle very, very easily. So if like, my external drive isn't reading or I've lost my flashlight for seconds, I'm like, where the hell? I'll go crazy. So almost, I have about 47 horror stories a day. I really don't know if I can pick one. Yeah, I'm a bit of a psychopath. For those that know me, I think can attest to that. One horror story. Um, well, another. I'll go college hockey route again. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. So, um, because I don't know if this guy he would have appreciated me telling the story, so I'm not going to. It was about Greg Cronin. For those that are listening to know what Greg Cronin is, they've had some interesting stories. He was my coach, hockey coach, when I was at Northeastern. So when I was at Syracuse, I was lucky enough to work with the women's hockey program. It was actually their first year there, so I think they knew I knew some hockey stuff, and they brought me in to be a part of it because a lot of the staff there was kind of foreign to them. So I think that was a big reason why I got that opportunity. But anyway, um, I would usually come. We'd play early afternoons generally with the women's game, and I'd come straight from there to go to the Carrier Dome to do the story for the game story for the football game. And you've had me on because I think from some of my visual stuff, writing's not really. I can write. It's not something I really fancy myself on. I don't think I'm very good at it, and it's just not something I don't want to say that I thoroughly enjoy. It's just I gravitate more towards the graphic side of things, and I'll just never forget. It probably happened more often than not. I'd write a God knows how long game story. Back then, longer the better, right? If your game story isn't this long, you're not doing a good job. So I'd probably write like a, who knows, 2,000, 2,200, I don't know how long it was, word recap on a Syracuse Louisville game. And Sue Edson, who I love her to death, one of the best in the business, a COSIDA Hall of Famer. She's my girl. She's my mentor. She'd sit down, she'd take one look at it, and she'd just go Command A backspace like this is dog shit. Do it again. So or actually she'd do it or have someone else do it, but she kept giving me the opportunities. But yeah, I could never get those football gamers quite the way she wanted, and but it made me better in the long run. Maybe it pushed me towards the graphic side of things. Maybe she knew exactly what she was doing. So yeah, it was pretty. We had some good times doing that.
Work-life balance. What do you do I know we were supposed to do this interview a little bit earlier, and then you went to go do some 3-on-3 hockey.
Yeah, I got to get it in when I can. Yeah, my girlfriend Jamie would probably attest to my work-life balance isn't great. And to be honest with you, it's not. I do work a lot. Um, I'm a bit of a workaholic, unfortunately, and I'm trying to get better at that because it is very important. Luckily, I haven't found myself burned out yet. There are times of the year, once National Signing Day is over, and it's right in the middle of the Bean Pot, which is a big tournament here in Boston, right in the middle of the season. Those 2-3 weeks are very, very tiring. But I stress I'm trying to get better at it. All of you should, for those that, stay in the office for a while, get the hell out of there. I'm getting out of here. I'm in the office right now. If you can't tell, I got my jersey back there. But, yeah, what do I like to do? I'm fortunate enough to live in a pretty awesome city. And honestly, we don't get to enjoy the nice weather that much, but when I do, just going for a walk and checking out a different bar, or checking out there's just, checking out something I've never done before. I know, of course, bar is the first thing I gravitate towards too. Hey, I like to have a good time. I think others that know me can attest to that as well. But there's so much you can do in the city. I try and I don't want to say stay away from sports. Like I'll go to a Red Sox games, or always a good, Red Sox, Bruins, whatever, things like that. But I try and keep the sports life out of it. It's whether it's going up to New Hampshire, checking out something, or going to the outlet malls in Maine. I know that sounds ridiculous, but just to kind of get out of the city, because Boston's kind of a small city, to be honest with you. Once you lived here, I've lived here for about 8-9 years now, and it's I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. I know there's other cities where people live there and haven't been to half of it, so I just love walking around, man, trying to explore things that I don't know. There's so much to know about this city, and yeah, man, it's been cool.
So one of my dreams is to run the Boston Marathon.
Okay.
And when I'm in Boston, when I do qualify, what bar or restaurant should I go to?
Before, during, or after the marathon?
How about all three?
Well,
Because at some point during, I'm gonna wanna, you know.
for sure. Well, look for me. So the marathon actually runs by Boston College. It is mile 21. God, I hope I have that right. So if you do qualify, let me know, and I'll have a Jaeger bomb or two waiting for you, get you replenished. So there's your bar there. You can stop at BC. Boylston. So the home stretch, Boylston, which is you know the famous street you see. There's a ton of bars that are along that. Any of those are good. They'll probably be pretty tough to get into during the race, but I would advise you, if you've ran the marathon, go to the North End, which is famous for its Italian. It's got God knows how many Italian restaurants. I think they're all the same, but people here rave about them. Get yourself a good pasta dish. You need carb. Get your carbs back in you.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep. Get a couple drinks in you, and go explore from there. Make sure to hit up either Mike's Pastry or Modern. They have those places. Like, you go there on like a Friday night in the summer. It's literally like a 45-minute hour wait. But I'm not a big pastry guy, but my girlfriend Jamie likes them, and a lot of other people do too. There's some famous spots, so I'll definitely hit those up too.
If anybody wanted to get in touch with you, have any questions, a little bit more on the gift side, what would be the best way to do it?
Anyway, man, my Twitter handle is just my name, Mark Majewski, MarkMajewski. You can shoot me an email either at mark.majewski at bc.edu or at gmail.com, whichever you prefer. Follow me on Instagram at Mark Majewski. Luckily, I've jumped on these things early. I've gotten my first and last name, most of them. And yeah, I'm in the Cosida group for Facebook. The
graphic design.
Sure. Yep, all that good stuff. I'm floating around there too. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody, man. One of the things when I was trying to get started was I'd always feel really bad when I applied somewhere or sent out an application. I didn't hear a damn thing back, and it's kind of a dejecting feeling, and I've always said, if I ever get into a position, at a point I wasn't sure that was ever going to happen, but if I ever get into a position where, I'm able to help someone out that has a question or an inquiry, I'll do my best. So, like I said before, if it's a technical question, that's great and fine. A lot of times I will advise you to try and figure those things out on your own, just because that's how you learn and get better. But if it's something you're stumped on or want to know, I'll do my best to help you out for sure.
Mark, that was it. How was it?
Awesome. All right. Should I stop recording?
No, you just keep going. I got to do a little wrap up here, which is fine.
Oh, perfect. Awesome, man.
That was episode 14 with Mark Majewski of Boston College Eagles. Mark, thank you for coming on. I really, really do appreciate it. And look forward to seeing that GIF when the recording does upload. So,
awesome.
Again, thank you for coming on, and I hope everybody enjoys it. So, as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything /SportsInfoCast. That's SportsInfoCast. If you want to email me, tell me you hate me, or tell me that you love it, you can email me sportsinfocast@gmail.com. So thank you all for subscribing, downloading, and please rate and review. It's good for, I think, iTunes, like, algorithm kind of thing. I got 1 5-star review, and it was from my sweet mate. I don't think that counts, but I'm going to take the 5 stars anyway. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode. All right, now you can stop.